What's up everybody? It's Eleanor Jane, the Crochet Fairy, here to give you another tutorial. It's been a while, but this hat is inspired by Angel Dust from Hazbin Hotel. Here's the back. Wait, can you see it? I hope you can see it. Move it around a little bit. Okay, let's get started.
You are going to need white, pink, and black for your main colors. I use bulky yarn and a 6.5mm hook, but you can use worsted and a 5mm hook. And then you'll also need worsted hot pink yarn. I use a 5mm hook for that, for the appliques, and then scissors and darning needle. Starting with yarn A, you're going to make a slip knot and then chain 30. Make sure your chain measures 11 to 12 inches, 12 if you have a bigger head. Double crochet in the third chain from your hook by yarning over, inserting, yarning over, and pulling through. Then you'll have 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Continue by double crocheting in each stitch all the way across until you reach the end of your chain. You should have 28 double crochet total by the time you reach the end of this row. This row needs to be 11 inches wide or half the size of your head circumference. Start the next row by chaining 2, which is going to count as your first double crochet. Turn your work, and then you are going to double crochet into each stitch all the way across until you reach the end. Continue making double crochet rows in pink until your work is about 2 inches from top to bottom. I only needed to do the 2 rows, but you may need to do more if you are working with a smaller yarn and hook. After that, cut and fasten the yarn, and next we will be working with white. Attach the white yarn to your work where you last cut off the pink. From there, you're going to go ahead and chain up 2, which counts as a double crochet. And then you are going to double crochet in each stitch all the way across. And you can also cover up your ends so that you don't have to weave in all the ends later by actually doing your double crochet stitches over the loose ends of the pink and white. To start the next row, you're going to chain 2, turn your work, and the chain 2 counts as a double crochet, and you are going to double crochet in each stitch all the way across until you reach the end of the row. Make as many rows in white as you did in pink, which for me was just 2, and then you are going to cut and fasten that yarn. Continue making rows of pink and white until you have a total of 9 rows. You should start with pink and end with pink and have 4 white rows and 5 pink rows. The rectangle needs to be 12 inches tall and about 11 inches wide. Keeping the rows horizontal, fold the hat in half, and now you are going to sew together the sides. I sew the hat together with white thread, and I do it with the wrong sides facing out. So what's the inside of the hat right now is going to be the outside once we're finished sewing. After sewing together the sides, don't forget to weave in your ends. And once you've sewn and weaved in the ends on both sides, go ahead and turn your hat inside out. Shape it by, stretching out the ears. And next we are going to start on the border of the hat. So we are going to need to grab our black yarn. And we are going to attach it at a corner seam of either side of the hat. And from there, you are going to tighten it, so it's fastened, and then single crochet in each stitch all the way around the bottom border of the hat. By the way, I have noticed that I talk very differently in my introductions versus while I am explaining the instructions, and that is because I voice over, and so I'm super concentrated on getting everything right, but I don't normally have this monotone voice where I'm like, do this and then that. I felt like I had to clarify. I'm sorry. Okay, yes, back to the tutorial. After you've single crocheted all the way around the border, you are going to slip stitch into the first single crochet that you made, finishing this row. Next, we are going to chain up 2, which counts as a double crochet, And then we are going to double crochet in each of the single crochet that we made all the way across the bottom border. Once you've reached the end of the row, slip stitch into the chain 2 that you made. Then you either have the option to fasten and cut the yarn and weave in the end, or you can do what I later on did and add another row of single crochet if you just kind of want to tighten up that border and make your border just a little bit longer. Next, we are going to be working on the detailing of the back of the hat using the hot pink yarn and still using our 6.5mm hook. We are going to be surface slip stitching a heart into the back and center. I start by going at the bottom of the pink row around the center of the hat, and that is where I insert my hook and pull the yarn through, surface slip stitch style. I don't know if you've ever done this before, but it's relatively easy. Once you've pulled that yarn up through the top of your work, you're going to insert the hook back down and pull the yarn back up through and slip stitch through, and that is our first surface slip stitch. We are going to be working diagonally to make the side of the heart, and you can make your heart however big or small you want it to be. This is just how I personally do it. You could even do a bunch of like little hearts, but anyways, I work up from the bottom center of the heart, and I continue going in that diagonal line. And then once I reach a little closer to the top, I start to, go up and inwards. Basically, I do the whole heart shape. I will just leave it on play so you can watch how I did it. And, it is difficult getting the perfect lines, when working with such big fabric. So sometimes I had to undo a stitch and redo a stitch to manipulate it to kind of get the perfect shape that I wanted, or pull it a little bit. But overall, I am pretty happy with how it turned out. If you have made it to this point, congratulations. We have gotten through the most tedious part of this project. Now, the spider web also includes surface slip stitching that we do later on towards the ends of the project, but for me, this was actually the hardest part, was getting the shape of the heart. Next, we will be making the circle appliques that go under Angel Dust's eyes in the cartoon, and to do that, make a magic circle and put 6 single crochet inside that magic circle, and make sure that you have a really long tail, both when you start your project and when you're finished, because we'll be using the ends to sew the appliques onto the hat. After making the 6 single crochet, slip stitch, cut and fasten your yarn, and that is the first of our 6 dots done. After completing your 6 dots, you are going to go ahead and sew them into the fabric and then weave in the ends once you're done. And the placement on these is really up to you. I placed them as the following. You can try on the hats, you can do them further apart, higher up, but I'm pretty happy with about where I placed mine. Next, we will be making the bow. So take your black yarn, make a slip knot, and then chain 10. Double crochet in the 3rd chain from your hook and in each chain all the way across. So you should have 8 double crochet total, including the chain 2 from the beginning. Start the 2nd row with a chain 2, which counts as a double crochet, and then again double crochet in each stitch all the way across. Once you reach the end, cut and fasten your yarn, and we will move on to the center of the bow. Oh, but before moving on to the center, make sure to weave in your ends, that way you don't have to deal with it later. To start the center of your bow, you're going to take the pink yarn and a 5mm hook make a slip knot, and you are going to chain 6. Single crochet in the second chain from your hook and in each chain across. Chain 1, and then you're going to single crochet in each stitch, all the way across, and you're going to keep making single crochet rows until you have a little strip of fabric that is large enough to wrap around the center of the black rectangle that we made for the bow. Once the center of your bow is the correct size, you can go ahead and cut a very long tail of your yarn, and we are going to use that to sew both ends of the center of the bow together. Once you've finished sewing the bow together, go ahead and shape it by pulling and stretching it to sort of look how you want it to. And then you'll be using the long ends of string to actually sew the bow into the hat. I do it on the corner of the ear, but you can try on the hat and just kind of find out wherever you personally would like to place the bow. If you're happy with how the hat looks at this point, then you can leave it that way. But if you'd like to add the spider web on the other ear, then go ahead and keep watching. So we are going to be surface slip stitching from the bottom of the center pink line, right there where my finger is. Put your hook through the point and pull the yarn through, and just surface slip stitch in a straight line all the way up to the corner of the ear. Once you've reached the corner of the ear, go ahead and crochet across the top of the cat hat about the same amount of chains as you did from the center to the corner. Once you finish with that, you are going to go ahead and cut and fasten your work and hide and weave in the strings from both ends of the slip stitches back into the fabric. You need 2 more diagonal lines. The first one from the bottom of the second white stripe to the corner of the ear, back down to the bottom of the center pink stripe. The second one will be made from the bottom of the middle pink stripe to the corner of the ear, back down to the bottom of the highest white stripe. Your spider web should look something like this upon completion, and you'll have all of your diagonal lines done and your ends woven in or weaved in, I don't know. Next, we're going to start the actual strings of the spider web. So you're going to go about 2 or 3 chains down from the top corner, pull a really long string of yarn through, and you're going to slide it through that chain. And for each string, as we move from the diagonal line to the next diagonal line, because that's what you're going to do next, is pull it 2 or 3 chains down from the next diagonal line, you want to leave a bit of a loop. So don't pull it super tight, because spider webs have a little bit of droop, or at least this one does. And you are going to continue pulling it through the diagonal lines, 2 or 3 chains down from the center, until you reach full circle. Once you reach full circle, you are going to bring your yarn 2 or 3 chains down that diagonal line where you started and ended the first circle. Come back up through 2 or 3 chains down from the circle that you just made. And we are basically going to repeat the process that we did for the first circle, where you go through the side of each diagonal line until you have another full circle that is going to be a little bit bigger, because, you know, the diagonal lines are a little further apart the further down that you go. After finishing the second circle, you are done. Cut the yarn, weave in those ends, done.
This is your finished piece, and here is the back. I hope you guys had as much fun making this as I did designing it. Keep your eyes peeled for the next Hazbin Hotel cat hat that I make. What character do you guys think I should do? I sort of have an idea of what I want to do, but I'm not settled because I want to do them all. But yeah, okay, bye! Oh, and let me know if you have any questions or need any help in the comments, and I will, yeah,